Hello everyone, today is 20th of December, now it's about 9 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. After this update, most likely I will take a day off because it is my younger daughter's birthday and I would not have time to actively follow major developments or news field, and I will come back tomorrow or day after. That's being said, let's go through some current news and well, first of all, this report from RT and there are many other Russian media outlets, of course, pay attention to this topic, that Russian Defense Ministry confirmed yet another long-range strike with Western missile systems deep into Russian territory. So Ukraine has launched a missile attack against a large chemical plant in Russia's southern Rostov region. The Russian Ministry of Defense has reported, according to their military, 6 US-made ATACMS tactical missiles and 4 air-launched British Storm Shadow cruise missiles were used in Wednesday's assault. Russian air defense units engaged their incoming missiles, successfully intercepting all ATACMS and 3 out of 4 Storm Shadow missiles using S-400 and Buk M3 surface-to-air missile systems, as well as their Panzer air defense system. One of the Storm Shadows were off course. However, it still impacted the facility, resulting in a damage to a technical building on the premises, the ministry said. Moscow has condemned their attack, declaring that their attack by the Kyiv regime, supported by the Western sponsors, would not go unanswered. So, as you know, I was reporting yesterday and day after about this long-range strike deep into Russian territory in Rostov region, and well, now we have official confirmation of that strike. Well, Russian Defense Ministry is promising response for that. We will see what kind of retaliatory steps will be taken by Moscow, if any. Meanwhile, Vzгляд newspaper and also every other media outlet here in Russia, of course, reporting about statements that Russian President Vladimir Putin made yesterday during the direct line conference. It was a combined event, Q&A, and a press conference. Vladimir Putin was answering to the questions from public, from Russian citizens, and also from the journalists. Dozens of questions were asked, and the main takeaway from this whole event is that, to me personally, because I follow news actively, and Putin did not really said anything that surprised me, or he did not say one way or another earlier, right? When it comes to some major topics, obviously. And therefore, major takeaway for me personally from this conference was that he's in a quite good shape, by the way, physically and mentally, because to work in a live, answering dozens of questions on different topics, by the way, for hours on end, you have to be in a good shape. I do live streams, right? Time to time. I resume live streams, Sunday traditional live streams or community chats last weekend, and it is tiring stuff, by the way. It's not easy. It's not easy. Members of our community who joins live streams know that after 1 hour, you can notice that I'm getting tired because, it is not easy, as I said. You have to monitor many things, so you have to make sure that live is going, programs are working properly, you are not missing some questions, and you are answering as in your answers you are as informative as you can, and it is tiring stuff. And I am, by the way, even though I'm significantly younger than Russian president. I'm getting tired after hour and a half, and you can notice this. But I mean, Putin is in good shape, really, and he can, for 2, 3, 4 hours do these conferences without any any issues. So yes, well done on that. Well done. That's the main takeaway for me personally. Although, of course, during this event, he spoke about many things. By the way, from Ukrainian crisis, and he said that Russia is open for negotiations and even for compromises, because that's what negotiations are, basically compromises of the sides. He spoke about relationships with between Russia and the West. He spoke about political leadership of the West, some of their figures. Of course, he spoke about domestic politics. He spoke about world economy, Russian economy, many stuff. And I shared the links, by the way, to that links from RT, which is in English, from that conference on my Telegram channel and Twitter X page. And if you are interested to listen to all this event statements of the Putin, you can check that link, because as I said, there are dozens of questions, dozens of answers. It was an interesting event. Maybe nothing groundbreaking, especially for us who follows news on daily basis, but still interesting for sure. And among his statements, as I already mentioned, there was one that was directed on Ukrainian crisis, and he basically announced conditions for talks with the Kyiv regime. So Moscow is prepared to begin negotiations with Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky provided his Moscow is prepared to begin negotiations with Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky, provided that he is legitimatized through another presidential election. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said, speaking at his annual end of the year press conference on Thursday. Putin stressed that any future deals between Russia and Ukraine would have to be signed by the legitimate authorities in Kiev, which currently means the Ukrainian parliament. The rather, according to President. So this is, I guess, answer from Russian side about topic of negotiations and who may represent Kyiv regime at this point, who will Russia see as a legit representative, and that legit representative is anyone appointed by Rada, Ukraine's parliament, because Moscow don't considers Zelensky as a legit president, because he's not. His presidential term has expired, and Ukraine's constitution said nothing about prolongation of presidencies. I mean, this is nonsense what is happening in this former Soviet republic, right? But state constitution in Ukraine says quite clearly that parliament's mandate can be prolonged in a case of some emergency situation, martial law, and so on. And that's why parliament is legit there, one may argue, but so-called President Zelensky is definitely not. Interesting nuance, by the way, that Western ruling class should keep in mind whenever they will push for any sorts of negotiations, that Moscow is not considering Zelensky as a legit president. So if they want to keep Zelensky as a leader, and if they want Zelensky to sign whatever papers, then they have to legitimize him, which means elections, presidential elections. Anyways, dear friends, this morning, right before I start recording this update, news came in that there was a number of explosions in Kiev. I shared on my Telegram some videos, by the way. This consequences of explosions. Reports are that Russia launched Kinzhal hypersonic missile. Kyiv regime is claiming that all missiles were intercepted. That's what they almost always do. They are intercepting always everything. Of course, details are unknown. What exactly was the target of Russian missile strike? During the day, probably we will learn some more. And even though, as I already said, dear friends, I'm not going to be active on my channels today because it is my younger daughter's birthday. But the other channels, I'm quite sure you are subscribed to other channels on Telegram and other platforms, and of course you will have opportunity to receive additional information about this morning's strike on Kiev. TASS news agency is reporting that Russian air defense system was also quite busy during the night and the early hours of this morning, because according to this report, 36 Ukrainian drones were intercepted over their number of Russian regions. No reports about, no precise information about casualties on the ground or more or less significant damage. Also, RT is reporting that Polish authorities once again reiterated that they are unable to provide Kyiv regime with MiG-29 fighter jets because that will jeopardize the security of the Poland itself. Kyiv regime is demanding MiG-29s from Poland for quite a while now. But Warsaw is refusing to get rid of its MiG-29, Soviet-era MiG-29 fighter jets. To get rid of whatever they still have left, and I guess it's about a dozen of these type of planes that still are operational in Polish Air Force. So Warsaw has reached the limit of what military aid it can provide to Kiev, according to Polish Deputy Defense Minister Paweł Zalewski. Speaking to Radio Z on Wednesday, he stressed that Poland cannot transfer its remaining MiG-29 jets to Ukraine without compromising its own national security. Poland already supplied Kyiv with a squadron of Soviet fighter planes in early 2023. Zalewski noted that until Warsaw receives US-made F-35 jets to replace the MiG-29 fleet, further supplies are all off the table. So Kyiv regime should not expect any Polish MiG-29s anytime soon, I guess. Also, we have this report that, Washington Post is also now pushing this new narrative that Europe is preparing to send some 100,000 strong troops into Ukraine. For the last several weeks, many statements were made on this matter. Many articles was written in Western propaganda. I shared my take on this situation. I guess Western collective West is preparing itself for occupation of the Western Ukraine, because if NATO troops, one way or another, but end up outside of the Western Ukraine, if they move eastwards or towards south parts of the Soviet Republic, former Soviet Republic, then that's going to be a big issue, I guess, between Russia and the collective West. And in that case, if these troops will move out of Western Ukraine, it is hardly imaginable that sides will manage to avoid direct confrontation in that case. But let's go through this news. Kiev's European allies are seriously discussing the possibility of sending military personnel to Ukraine in the event of a peace agreement between Kyiv and Russia, but not under their NATO flag. The Washington Post reports, citing sources. Yes, of course, under no NATO flag, if that will make any difference for Russia. These are NATO troops, right? These are NATO troops. All these countries that are in this discussion, according to Western propaganda, France, UK, Germany, Poland, and the rest of them, these are NATO countries. And who gives them under what flag, under what pretext they will move into this so-called Ukraine? Russia is very clear that freezing of the conflict is unacceptable, and presence of NATO troops on territory of this republic is unacceptable under whatever pretext. And yet again, by the way, I can imagine that Moscow would not be too stressed if Western Ukraine is occupied by NATO forces, but rest is out of question for sure. But we will find out soon, I guess. RT is reporting that head of State Department in US was bragging about providing Kyiv regime with 100 billion, formally Kyiv regime with 100 billion worth of assistance, while acknowledging that the majority of this money went back to US military-industrial complex, by the way. Of course, nothing surprising for us here, because we all knew this, right? But officials also, officials even in US are acknowledging that it's kind of money laundering scheme that Ukraine and all these tens and hundreds of billions of dollars just being, stolen from US taxpayers to direct into pockets of corrupt officials and their military-industrial complex. That's what it is. So Washington has provided around 100 billion in financial aid and military assistance to Kyiv since the escalation of the Ukrainian conflict in 2022. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said the bulk of their money was spent inside the US on defense manufacturing. He told the Council of Foreign Relations in New York on Wednesday. So yes, this so-called Ukraine is a money laundering operation also. Not just that, but also huge, biggest ever, I guess, money laundering operation, and hundreds of billions of dollars were stolen from taxpayers of North America, of Europe, and through Ukraine was directed to pockets of military-industrial complex and corrupt officials. That's what it is. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this small media project of mine is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my work, if you think I deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, and if you think my project has some future, please consider to support her. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment. RT is reporting that US admits attempts at the regime change in Iran. What a surprise. So US Secretary of the State, yet again, Antony Blinken, has publicly admitted that over the past 2 decades, Washington has conducted experiments seeking regime change in Iran. Efforts to topple the Islamic Republic's leadership, however, have failed. He admitted, yet again, we all know this, we all knew this, but it is interesting to see that Western ruling elites, willingly or unwillingly, are acknowledging that they are engaged in all sorts of criminal activity worldwide, because conducting regime change operations in other countries is a crime, right? No one said that that kind of activity is legit. It's a crime. And this Antony Blinken, even though he is extremely stupid, uneducated, a piece of garbage, and intellectually he cannot understand what he is talking about, probably someone written for him some notice and he's just reading it. But this stupid idiot, stupid bitch, is acknowledging that US involved in crimes all around the world, basically. That's what it is, right? No surprise, but it is good to know. It is good to know that we have some references now also to officials whenever there is talk about criminal activity of the US on a world stage. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting, based on Wall Street Journal's article, that Russia is evacuating its military personnel and military equipment from Syria to Libya. In this article, in particular, highlighted the transfer of S-400 and S-300 air defense systems, which is not really surprising. I said quite a number of times before that, in my personal opinion, Russia will withdraw completely from Syria, most likely because I don't really see any reason why should Russia stay there and risk lives of Russian militaries. And by the way, also one should understand that Turkey most likely don't want to see strengthening of Russia's positions anywhere. Turkey is a historical enemy of Russia. I should always keep that in mind. Turkey is a historical enemy of Russia, Georgia, Armenia, and Greece, obviously. And Iran also, by the way. And Arab countries. Turkey is a historical enemy of everybody in the region, right? That's how it was created, and that's how history goes there, right? So because Turkey now is basically in charge of Syria, with exception of some parts on south, which is controlled by Israel, and some parts on northern east, which is controlled temporarily, for now at least, by Kurds. Rest of the territory of Syria, including Latakia and Tartus cities or Latakia province, where Russian military bases are, under control of Turkish proxies, right? Pro-Turkish terrorists. So therefore, of course, one way or another, but Turkey will try to push out Russian bases. And as I said, man, I don't see a reason why should Russia spend even a single penny in the Middle East. Let Middle Eastern countries deal with all their issues, or maybe Russia should not even get into Syria in the first place, and but it is what it is, man. Russia is evacuating some personnel, some military equipment into Libya. Okay, this is report from Wall Street Journal, by the way, so therefore we should take this information with a pinch of salt, although I can understand that Russia is withdrawing its equipment and personnel from Syria in whatever direction, but eventually, most likely, Russia will leave Syria completely. I'm not sure there will be even an embassy in Syria, because Syria is controlled by terrorists now, and I'm absolutely against the legitimization of these animals that are formally in charge of Syria now. They are murderers, right? Mass murderers, terrorists, and I hope Moscow will not take any steps to legitimize them. I hope so. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that well, if you thought US had enough bases worldwide, think again, because we have this report that Somaliland, breakaway part of Somalia, could host a US military base in exchange of recognition. Somaliland is ready to host the US military base in the port of Berbera in exchange for recognition of its sovereignty. Bashir got their breakaway territories representative in Washington said in an interview with the TASS published on Thursday. So yes, I mean, why not? US has how many bases? Like 800, 900 worldwide. One more, one less. Who cares, right? US taxpayers are happy to pay for all this craziness. So as long as US taxpayers are okay with this, then Interfax, meanwhile, is reporting that State Department, by the way, now sanctioning Russian companies and vessels that already were sanctioned, that were participating in the building of Nord Stream 2 pipelines, And US now, I don't know what is wrong with them, man, but they are sanctioning very same companies and vessels that they already sanctioned. It does not make no sense, right? They already sanctioned all these companies, all these vessels, but still, probably it is like a runaway train. They are on this path of constant anti-Russian statements, actions, and they're by nature now they are coming up with some absolutely nonsensical additional steps, additional sanctions, and they are sanctioning companies, vessels, infrastructure, people that they already sanctioned. These are sick, by the way. These people in US leadership are really sick, man. Western ruling class is mentally ill animals, right? Entirely, by the way. Western ruling class, whatever they are, man. I mean, they are mentally animals, obviously, and existential threat for humanity, that's for sure. And they're puppets that are working for those animals, like Blink and Mink and the rest of the garbage. They are, total disgrace of humanity also. And extremely uneducated, stupid people, by the way. Don't believe, statements that they have education from this university and that they are buying all that stuff, man. They are stupid. Just listen to them. Just listen to them. Few sentences and straight away, these are uneducated, dirty fucking animals. That's what they are, man. Entire Western ruling class, Western so-called elites. Few exceptions, maybe. Few. But 99%, total disgrace. That's what it is. And I'm gonna end this update on this funny news because yet again, man, you tell me what this is. That State Department is sanctioning Russian companies and their vessels that already are sanctioned, but still, by the way, I mean, crazy, man. Sick fucking animals. That's what Western ruling elites are, by the way. And someone should exterminate them, but before they exterminate the rest of the humanity. But who that someone is, man? If I was in charge of Russian Federation, and then I know what I would do, but I'm not. Just 24 hours would be enough for me to like that exterminate Western ruling elites completely, Western ruling class completely, so that humanity finally would be free from those animals, man. Okay, this is it for now. I don't want to be in a bad mood, man. And that's what news does. Man. Too much negativity in the news field. So this is it for now. Short update. Hopefully you will find at least some of the news are interesting and informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, and share information about my channel, and yes, that's it. That's about it. If you want to support, links are on this video in description box, and so have a wonderful day and a great upcoming weekend. Take care.